thanks to my older sister Jeanette coming over from Christchurch. My brother Ed and his wife Joan have come down from Wellington this morning, and my daughter Jacinta over there, and grandson Homer right through there. So I thought I won't comment. I'll leave it till they finish. But anyhow, firstly I'd just like to sort of give you a little bit about our family history, and if you'll bear with me for a little while. Firstly, I would like to give you a rundown on the Houston family history from the arrival of my great-grandfather John Bain Houston to New Zealand. John Bain was born in Greenock, Scotland in 1839 and came to New Zealand as a sailor. He embarked Port Chalmers in Dunedin Harbour in 1865. Sometime during 1865 he applied for a mining licence in the Otago goldfields. I'm not sure when he left Otago area, but records show that it was not long after arriving that he was drawn to the goldfields of Westland. John Bain's future wife, to be Mary Ann Doyle from Adelaide, arrived as a 19-year-old about August 1869. He was working as a domestic in Ross at the time of their marriage in 1871. I was just telling some earlier they were quite good because one was Presbyterian, the other one was Catholic, and they actually got married in the Anglican Church. So they're covering all bases. Yeah. After their marriage, they moved to Woodstock and set up home on Back Creek Road, where they had 7 children. Like many of the pioneer families, they had many setbacks bringing up a family. 4 of their children died before the age of 13. Catherine, the second oldest, drowned in the river at Woodstock, aged 10 years. Edmund James died of diphtheria, aged 5 years. Albert Edmund died of whooping cough and other complications, aged 2 years. And Ethel Jane died from osteomyelitis, aged 13 years. John Bain was involved in many local bodies such as Education, Western District Council, and also the Hospital Board. He was also involved in the local cricket club as a player and administrator. The oldest child, William John, went on to become a gold miner like his father. He also taught at the Woodstock School, as well as being a lay teacher in the Presbyterian Church. Later on, he was involved in the timber milling industry, firstly at 3 Mile Hokitika, and then for the remainder of his life in Harry under the name of Houston Timbers. William John was a keen rugby player in his youth and a very good cricketer, representing West Coast for a number of years. Keith and Neil Houston are descendants of William John. My grandfather, Malcolm Henry Houston, was born in 1881 at Woodstock and did his primary schooling there and his secondary schooling at Hokitika High School. Granddad's only surviving sister, Marion Florence Houston, married Joseph Thomas Harvey in 1914, and they had 2 sons, Bill and Jack Harvey. Bill became a market gardener in Christchurch, and Jack became a publican in Darfield. In a newspaper article on the 14th of March 1887, a news article states Joseph Thomas Harvey's father, Henry Thomas Harvey, who was the Hokitika Harbour Master at this time, went swimming at the mouth of the Hokitika River, where he got into a rip and was taken out to sea, and unfortunately he drowned, eventually being washed ashore at the north end of Rebel Street. And the newspaper, about 2 days later, they had appointed a new harbour master, so they didn't waste any time in those days. In 1907, Malcolm Henry Houston, my grandfather, married Marion Woolhouse from the Occidental Hotel. And you've seen the hotel down that last board down there, and the Woolhouse family. Before their marriage, Granddad was involved in many organisations, namely Secretary of the Western AMP Association, the Hokitika Trotting Club, the Hokitika Swimming Club, the Hokitika Rugby Club, Later on, the Commodore of the Lake Canary Aquatic Club, the Hokitika Fire Brigade, a committee member of the Excelsior Rugby Club. He was also agent for the Land Settlement Board and a member of the Masonic Lodge. During the latter years, he owned both trotters and gallopers, and he was also a keen duck shooter and fisherman. I don't know when he was home, actually. I don't think his family would have seen him too much. Grandad was a very good rugby player and represented the Hokitika Rugby Club in the West Coast for a number of years. He played for West Coast Bull against the British Lions touring team that came to New Zealand in 1908. My grandparents had two children, my dad Malcolm Edmund Houston and his sister Jean Alice Houston, later Jean Wiley. Dad was educated at Hokitika Primary School and then Hokitika Secondary School. He was in the school first 15 at 14 years of age, and from all accounts, a reasonably good student. At the age of 16, Dad was sent off to complete his education at Waitaki Boys High School, where he excelled as a student and also on the sporting field. He played first 15 rugby for the school on Wednesdays and for North Otago on Saturdays. He was a prefect, a member of the school orchestra, heavyweight boxing champion, and also managed to win prizes in English and history. On leaving school, Dad joined the Excelsior Rugby Club, where he played with well-known Hokitika names such as Malcolm Davidson, Bob and Jack Gugich, Ron King, ex-All Black and captain of the All Blacks, Frank Freitas, Bert Kelly, and Charlie and Diver Fallett, to name a few. Like his father before him, Dad represented West Coast for some time and also represented West Coast Buller against the British Lions in 1930 and also the New Zealand All Blacks in 1928. He was a keen swimmer and for a number of years on the committee of the Hokitika Swimming Club. Dad was a member of the Western Racing Club and a committee member right up to his death. At one point he was part of a dance band called the Happiness Boys, and they played for dancers mainly from Hokitika to South Westland. And from what Mum says, he used to get home fairly late some Sunday mornings, and the boys would be up to all sorts of mischief when Mum came home from church. Dad was supposed to be looking after them. Now for the firm of Houston & Co. Established on the 16th of November 1916 by my grandfather, Malcolm Henry Houston. Grandad notified the public of Hokitika on that day that the firm that he was working for, Pollock and Bevan, and now he owned, would in future be known as M. Houston & Co. Auctioneers, Real Estate Agents and Stock and Station Agents. The original owner of the building was James Chesney & Co., who were importers of medical supplies. Pollock and Bevan were next to own the property, and they were involved also with imports from Hokitika through the Hokitika Harbour. They also had an import licence for wines and spirits, and I understand these were imported in barrels and bottled on site. Pollock and Bevan were also real estate agents and stock and station agents. Most of my memories of the premise in Kent Street, just down here, where my brother and I would play on the stacks of hay and chaff and straw, and there was a rope attached to the rafters in the building, and we used to swing across from one side to the other, much to the displeasure of the storeman, Des Breeze. He used to come out and was pretty grumpy at times. The chaff and hay was supplied to farmers, silver pine contractors, people like the Coyle brothers and Arthur Stoffers, both wood and coal merchants, and also the horse racing fraternity. There was a large open fireplace in the office that provided the only heating, and this would be fired up by buckets of coal. There was no electric power, and the lighting was provided by gas lights that let off the slight humming sound. There was a large two-door safe against the south wall and a pendulum clock ticking away on the mantelpiece. My dad, Malcolm Edwin Houston, started in 1929 working for his father until 1945, when Grandad became manager of the Hokitika Savings Bank until his death in 1952. Dad took over the running of the business in 1945 and conducted cattle sales at Arahua, Kokotai, Ross, Harihari, Wataroa, Waitaha, and possibly other places as well. He conducted property auctions and clearance sales of furniture and effects for sales were very popular and attracted great interest from locals. Around 1951, my Auntie Jean Wiley retired unexpectedly, and my sister left school at 16 years of age to take over the office duties of typing and other duties as required. 1954 was a major turning point in the business, as it was starting to slide back, but due to the locality and also the buildings were deteriorating to an extent that change had to be made. And the opportunity came with the sale of this building at 22 Wells Street, formerly owned by the Haynes family as a grocery shop, and then for a short time by McDuff's. For those that don't know anything about McDuff's, they were a retail operation similar to Woolworths. Some of the older ones would probably know what Woolworths were like. You know, everything was spread out on counters. But it didn't last long, and McDuff's only probably operated here for 3 or 4 years, and then it was finally bought out by Woolworths, and they in turn closed it down so they could operate better in Greymouth. So we lost another business. Anyhow, one person's loss is another person's gain, I suppose. The business carried on the same lines as in Camp Street, but on a smaller scale, with real estate, cattle sales, house and furniture auctions, and second-hand furniture. At the end of 1957, I left St. Bede's College and started my first job at the Lands and Survey at the beginning of 1958, working here for about 9 months, and then starting with my dad and sister for what would be a very long career with the business. In 1960, my sister married Jack O'Donnell, and they soon moved on transfer to Carterton, where Jack was appointed manager of the Public Trust Office. 1963, I got married to Monica Darren, a nurse from Grundy, and we had 3 children. Jacinta, my oldest.
Your hand up, Jacinta. There she is.
Anthony, a qualified podiatrist, and Stephen, a doctor of dentistry. 1964 was a busy year, and then I set out to build my own home at 29 Park Street, and we moved into that property Labour weekend of 1964. 1965, Dad was starting to have some health issues and was keen to sell the business. It suggested to me to try and look for a new career. So I applied and got a job with Westland Savings Bank under the management of Jack Leslie. I stayed there for about 6 months, and during that time got in touch with my brother-in-law, Jack O'Donnell, and asked him if he would be interested in going into partnership with me, with the idea that we might be able to take over the business. At that stage I was 25, so pretty young to be talking about going into business. Jack duly arrived down, and after some discussion showed interest in the prospect of going into business. He was staying with his parents in Greymouth at the time, and his father stated that Bernie Connors, who owned E.B. Arthur and Son, was looking to sell up in Greymouth. This business was mainly involved in real estate and trading in second-hand furniture. As it turned out, the two businesses had a lot in common, and the wheels were set in motion and agreements drawn up for Jack and myself to take over both businesses. Jack would run E.B. Arthur and Son, and Bernie would stay on to get us started. I would run the Hokitika business, and my dad would stay on as long as he was able. At the start of the partnership, we owed 100% of debt. Our first day's trading was the first money we had in the bank. So that's not bad, is it? Luckily, business went along very well in those first few years. Firstly, we added this area which we're standing on at the moment, and it was at that stage it was a single story building.
Is it only at the front, isn't it, Dad?
In the early 1970, we pulled down the old wooden building at the front and built the two-story part of the building. And it was, at that time, we branched into new furniture. Around 1980, we felt we needed more floor space, so the roof came off this part, and this back portion of the shop was converted into a second story. And at that stage, our building was completed, as you see it today. In Greymouth, Jack found that he needed more help in the real estate business and asked his brother Frank, who was working for BP in Wellington, if he would like to come on board. And after about 12 months on the job, Jack put it to me that he would like Frank to become a partner. I agreed to this on the provision that if I wanted to bring an extra partner, that would be okay. In due course, the original Levy Arthur & Son building was no longer fit for purpose, and after investigating several options, we made the decision to purchase Days Motors building. After major renovations, we moved into that building on the corner of Chapel and Tainui Streets. About that time, we set up business in Westwood with Ross Shaw running the real estate and second-hand furniture. Eventually selling the business to Ross, and he in turn dropped the second-hand furniture side of the business, concentrating on real estate under the banner of Buller Real Estate. Buller Real Estate has now been purchased by Property Brokers Real Estate. So a little bit of a circle of events there. 1990 was another year of change in that the partnership was not going so good, and I made the move that we dissolve and go our separate ways. Since 1990, with the help of some very good and loyal staff, some who are with us tonight, we have been able to serve the community to the best of our ability, thanks to a lot of very loyal customers. 2006, I was now 66 years old and finally getting the pension. My wife Monica was in the early stages of multiple sclerosis, and Tony stated that he would like a change of occupation. So I told him to come and try the business with no strings attached. And if he liked the challenge, then I would be okay with him taking it on. The following year, he was convinced that this was for him, so he came to an agreement that he would take over the business, with me staying on as long as he needed me. The strange thing is that he still needs me. You will see from this history lesson the common factor is that Houston's business has been engaged in real estate and the sale of furniture, both second-hand and new, for the duration of the 100 years. Just a small point of interest, there are only 2 local businesses operating today that have a family history that goes beyond 100 years. They are Thompson's Funeral Directors, I don't know about that, and Houston's Real Estate and Furniture. Finally, I would like to thank all past staff and especially our loyal customers, because without your support, we would not have been able to survive the many changes that have occurred in Hokitika over the years. Finally, I would like to recognise some of the staff that worked for us over the years. During my father's time, there was Des and Earl Breeze, Fred Woolhouse, Hilda Hassan, my brother Bill and sister Jeanette. Then working for myself, there was Pat Cowie, Blake Knox, Michael Davidson, Matthew Foote, Gordon Wells, Mark Watton, Richard Green, Terry Bedford, Jane Jenkins, Lisa O'Neill, and not forgetting my wife Monica, who worked for many years until her death, until her health prevented her from carrying on. To Lai Ming and Tony, I would like to congratulate you both on the changes that you have both made during your time running and owning the business, and for putting on this special occasion. It makes me very proud, and I wish you both the best of success for your future. Nice to have that over.